Aloha! You are watching EBC's international coverage of the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic. I'm Alfred Senes, coming to you live. Yes, we are live from the beautiful state of Hawaii. But before we go on, I just wanted to let everyone know, our viewing audience, we may be outdoors, but not to worry. This is actually private property, and the coast graciously allowed us to do our coverage here, just to show what the appearance is like at this time. And the local time here is 4:20 p.m. And of course, as journalists, we carry our own PPE, like this face mask and a pair of gloves in case we need to be out there for an extended period. So we're doing our part, and we hope that you are doing your part as well. As always, we have our correspondents standing by across North America, standing by to deliver their reports. Citizens in Alberta hear from their premier over an event that they have called the Supper Hour. Thomas Likeness from Western Canada will explain. Canada's capital of Ottawa has its lockdown extended through the end of June. We have Sabir Mufti from Eastern Canada for the details. Washington, D.C.'s mayor addresses revenue shortfall. Maryland's Governor Hogan enacts orders to further the halt of the COVID-19 spread. And Virginia joins the fight against COVID-19 through genetic technology. All that will be covered by Maybon Doc Ramos from America's Capital Region. On to the southern United States, Atlanta has the highest concentration of COVID-19 cases in the Peachtree State. Philip Toledo is standing by. On to the Lone Star State, Governor Greg Abbott states that Texas has received 2.5 million masks. Jessica Isidro in Houston for the details. Going on to the Pacific Northwest, Washington Governor J.S. Lee extends school closures for the rest of the 2019-2020 academic year. We have Michael Hudson, who will be joining us from Seattle. To the great state of California, over 1 million jobless claims have been filed in that state. Nayeli Villanueva from San Fernando in Southern California will be joining us. On to Nevada. Nevada citizens emerge as #Vegas Stronger during the COVID-19 crisis. Lani Balticantos from Vegas will explain further. Plus, a live interview with a mom from Jacksonville, Florida, who, even before the pandemic, already chose to homeschool her 2 kids. Let's find out later. And a frank conversation with EBC Sports International producer Aljamin Santos about how the sports world is taking a big hit from the COVID-19 crisis. And today, we will also learn how to spice up those old toasters in your kitchen. Yes, the ones that get left on the dining table. So we have all that. But first, here's an overview of how the world looks right now. And according to the Coronavirus Resource Center of Johns Hopkins University, as of 5 p.m. Eastern Time, the number of cases of COVID-19 reported worldwide is now more than 1.4 million. This includes more than 386,000 in the U.S. and more than 17,000 in Canada. Over 81,000 have lost their lives. But on the bright side, nearly 298,000 people are or have recovered from the infection. Now let's begin our live reports. Like before, we're going to let our friends north of the border to go first. And who better to lead us off than the man himself, Thomas Likeness in Edmonton. Thomas, what you got for us?
Aloha, Alfred. How are things in the great state of Hawaii?
I got plenty of sunshine, and I can send it to you right now if you like.
Oh, please do. We still have a couple of feet of snow in the backyard. That's why we broadcast from inside. Anyway, Albertans had dinner with the Premier of the province tonight as he did an address from the legislature on supper time newscasts. This is what Premier Jason Kenney told us over the dinner hour. He and his experts have been going over all kinds of data on the pandemic for the past couple of weeks. He told us we can expect the following in the coming months, and he promised he would not sugarcoat these projections. The first projection, he calls this one the probable one. We would see the infection rate peak in mid-May. By the end of the summer, there could be up to 800,000 people who contracted the COVID-19 infection, and between 400 and 3,100 deaths. Now, Kenney said under the most serious but less likely scenario, infections would peak at the beginning of May with up to 1 million cases by the end of the summer and between 500 and 6,600 deaths resulting from that scenario. Kenney says if the rate of infection, that is, if the curve begins to flatten, restrictions could be eased somewhat by the end of May. Does this mean we're going to return to normal like it was before? No. The return to normality will be very gradual because, again, public health officials want to prevent a second wave of the infection. Kenney is going to be cautious. He says he wants to follow the example of countries like South Korea, Singapore, and Taiwan. There, the infection rate has been somewhat limited, and they've controlled it well. So these are the measures that will be taken as the curve flattens. Let's assume at the end of May we can start easing up on things. We will still have an aggressive system of mass testing. They're talking about doing up to 20,000 tests per day. As well, there'll be precise tracking of close contacts of infected people. Strong border screening. Kenney's very critical of the federal government for taking so long to close the borders. And he says, although we can't control who comes into the province, who arrives internationally, we can control what happens after they land. And that will include stricter screening and quarantine of international arrivals. Now, those quarantine orders will be strictly enforced. He's talking about using technology, including smartphone apps, to make sure these people stay quarantined. He'll also be encouraging the use of masks in crowded public places, such as mass transit. As the Premier said, he wouldn't sugarcoat it because the big challenge now is to prevent that second wave of an infection. We can't let up. We can't be complacent. That's his message. Now, as far as the economy, he says it's going to be slow to cover because, as well as the pandemic, this province is caught in a price war with Saudi Arabia and Russia over energy prices, and energy is our big industry here. So that's the sobering news today from the Alberta capital. But before I go, I want to pass this warning on to you. Be careful about text messages that have been circulating. Now, the Canadian government has started dispensing emergency help to people. My wife received a couple of texts today telling her that she has received emergency funds. And I'll just click on this link and we'll give you the money. Well, even though it has the logo of the bank on the text, banks in Canada don't text you. The money goes into your account and you can check it online on the real site. These texts are from crooks who've launched phishing expedition to get your private information and probably your money. So just ignore them, delete them. People receiving emergency funds from the bank, like I said, will either get a direct deposit. Some of them want checks. They'll get their checks. But don't click on those phony links that the bankers or phony bankers are providing. Here's a quick look at the numbers in Canada. As Alfred mentioned earlier, we're closing in on 18,000 cases. In the there have been 380 deaths in Canada. In Alberta, 25 new cases in the last 24 hours. That's the lowest number in some weeks now. We've got just under 1,400 cases. 26 people have died. 447 have recovered. As always, I wish you good health. Take care of others and take care of yourselves. Stay home, stay safe, and stay tuned to Eagle News for accurate and balanced coverage of the COVID-19 pandemic. In Edmonton, Thomas I. Likeness, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
Mahalo. Thank you for that update, Thomas. You mentioned something about the premier, the local government there is really moving gradually, and there's this term that in government circles that it applies. It's called rushing to failure, and I think the government is trying to avoid that to jump into something that it may cause more problems than expected. That's an interesting pattern.
I'm really impressed with his approach, Alfred. They're listening to the scientists, they're listening to the experts, and not playing politics. There's a lot of people who would like to go back to normal tomorrow, and I'm sure that's the same situation in your state. But here, this is a well thought out approach to normality. It's going to take some time, and like he said, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. This is the way it is.
And same here in the Aloha State. Thank you, Thomas. Looking forward to your next report.
Thank you.
As spring flood preparations are underway, the COVID-19 lockdown in Canada's capital, Ottawa, is extended through the 30th of June. Sabir Mufti from Ottawa is with us today for the details. Aloha, Sabir.
Aloha, Alfred. It's good to see you once again. Well, listen, in Ottawa, the city's confirmed case count jumped to 403 with no new deaths to report, keeping us at 6 overall deaths. The mayor has extended all park and non-essential businesses to be closed till the end of June. According to the Mayor Jim Watson's office, flood preparations are now taking place for spring flood 2020. Around 200,000 sandbags from last year are now being deployed to areas that were hit last year. Also, physical distancing measures will remain during the flood preparations, with a limit of 5 people working at each site. Now, the province of Quebec, our neighbor situated next to Ontario, has the most reported cases in the country, with 9,340 confirmed cases and 150 deaths, and is projecting by the end of April 1,263 deaths, with a worst case scenario of 8,860 deaths. Now, moving back to our province, the province of Ontario, where Ottawa is located, we're recording at 4,726 cases, with 153 total deaths. Some projections from the Ontario government were saying that we could see numbers as high as 3,000 to 15,000 deaths in Ontario should stricter measures not be put in place. Current interventions, as they stand, we could be looking at 1,600 deaths by the end of April. Now, not all grim news here in Canada, Alfred, as Prime Minister Justin Trudeau works with companies to bring 30,000 ventilators to be manufactured here in Canada. No news as to when they will be ready for deployment. And on Tuesday morning, actually this morning, our Premier Doug Ford was on hand in Woodbridge, Ontario to personally pick up the first load of 1,000 Ontario-made medical masks manufactured by a local car manufacturer. And here in Ottawa, a local company has signed a contract with the federal government to produce COVID-19 portable test kits. The government of Ontario has also purchased these about 900,000 kits, and the company hopes to deploy these in a few weeks. And I believe the government of Alberta has also purchased these kits, and they should see some as well. In Ottawa, Canada, Sabir Mufti, Eagle News, we live in interesting times.
Mahalo. Thanks, Sabir. I remember your recent reports involving a lot of outreach, community helping each other. Are there still? I know that you have these restrictions about being in public places, travel, that sort of thing there in Eastern Canada. Are there any still? Are there still any activities of reaching out, donations from small groups, large groups that you're picking up there so far?
Well, right now we have anyone like Algonquin College, one of the local colleges here, has donated any of their masks they have, any ventilators that they use for classroom purposes, digital printers. So from the maker spaces, they're producing anything that they can produce to help with the frontline workers out there. And there's even a boy around this area who actually manufactured headbands to help with the masks. There's a lot of different outreach that's going on, but there are also bylaw officers who are maintaining the rules and enforcing the rules. Having fines up to 100,000 to 500,000, depending on if you're a person disobeying them or if you're a corporation disobeying. So it's strict measures are being in place. Again, no cross-border province to province travel. If you do travel, there's 14 days quarantines. There's so many things that are going on. And I got to say one thing. I was at a local grocery store here, and they're really strict as well. They interviewed me, asking me several questions whether I travel and all these sort of things. And they're only allowing one family member to do the grocery shopping. So it looks like I'll be doing the grocery shopping from now on, and many other things as well. I've got my son's medical appointment, and it's only one person's allowed to do that. So I got to see the doctor. A lot of things happening, but I gotta say one good thing is that I am baking more, and I just managed to bake some Spanish bread, and so my waistline isn't improving at all, but things are good so far.
If you need help with that, Brad, just mail it here. Okay, I'll talk with you offline. How about that?
Sounds good. We'll do. Take care, Alfred.
Sabir Mufti out in Ottawa, and take care there in Eastern Canada. Now let's go to the United States and on to the nation's capital. May Bondoc Ramos updates us on Washington, D.C.'s mayor addressing a revenue shortfall. Maryland governor enacts orders to further the halt of COVID-19 spread. And the state of Virginia joins the fight against COVID-19 through genetic technology. Hey, that's a lot of ground to cover. You got that?
Hi, Alfred. I got that. Aloha. I have some interesting news for you today, so bear with me as I give you the updates in the DMV area, that is Washington, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. As for the current statistics, DMV has reached an all-time high of 9,275 confirmed COVID-19 cases, in which less than 50% of it of this is from Maryland, having 4,371 with 103 deaths. The district has a total of 1,211 cases with 22 deaths, and Virginia with 3,333, oh, that's a mouthful, positive cases and 63 deaths. In Washington, D.C., well, our local government begins to feel the economic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. The office of the mayor projects that fiscal year 2020 will have a revenue shortfall of at least $600 million. Because of this, Mayor Bowser recently signed an order that freezes certain expenditures, hiring and contract staffing, training and travel, also freezes on raises, promotions, bonuses, and other personal-related adjustments and payments. Not only are individuals and families feeling the economic impact of COVID-19, but even our local government. No one knows exactly how the pandemic will end, but we can say for certain that it won't be business as usual. In Maryland, some communities, well, like this one, taken by our EBC correspondent, Medi Michael, outside her house in Waldorf, are taking the stay-at-home directive seriously, as evidenced by the cars that are still parked at their driveways. As we are getting closer to reaching what medical experts are saying will be the peak in our area, Maryland Governor Hogan enacts orders to further halt the spread of COVID-19. One such order delegates authority to local health officials to control and close unsafe facilities. The grants permission for an authorized health official to close what they deem to be an unsafe facility, even if it were otherwise permitted to remain open based on previous executive orders from the governor. Governor Hogan also activates statewide strike teams for nursing homes. The term strike team sounds like something out of a movie, but these strike teams, which include members of the National Guard, representatives of local and state health departments, EMS clinicians, doctors, and nurses will be activated to provide support to nursing home facilities. This is the type of strike team you would want to come to your rescue. Then in Virginia, in our battle against COVID-19, Virginia Governor Ralph Northam announced that the Department of General Services Division of Consolidated Laboratory Services, also known as DCLS, will use its genetic technology to help public health officials to better understand and track the scope of the COVID-19 pandemic. Genome sequencing, as they say, will be used to track how the virus is evolving and gain a clear understanding of how the virus is being transmitted throughout the state. Governor Northam is quoted as saying, "This innovative technology, combined with the work of our public health laboratory and epidemiologists around the Commonwealth, will help us understand the virus, how it spreads, and how it may change, and that will give us more tools to fight it." It's inspiring to know that many states, including Virginia, is doing all they can to understand and defeat the COVID-19 pandemic. Advanced genetic technology and even the simplest action, like washing hands and staying home, can go a long way for all of us to defeat COVID-19. In Washington, D.C., May Bandoc Ramos, Eagle News, we live in interesting times. Back to you, Alfred.
Mahalo, May. I'm glad you're covering the two state and district area. Having visited there myself several times before, it's interesting how, given this crisis and given the actions by the two states and the district, I can only imagine, of course, they would tailor their restrictions, based on the needs of their own jurisdictions. I wonder if there are any frustrations, among the residents there who have to cross, state lines or into DC or out. For example, if I were to live, say, in Arlington, but I have my prescription out in Bethesda, Maryland, any issues as far as the differences in curfew or limited movement and all that you know of?
So far now, there isn't really that restriction as to borders, if it is going to Virginia, going to DC, or going to Maryland, because it's too close. We're too close. And actually, all of the some of the workers around the Washington area, Washington DC, live in Virginia and Maryland. So it's really very close. So there is no border, and there is no curfew as to what time they should be out or what time should they be in. It's still somewhat business as usual, but well, not really.
Yeah. That's good to know. I mean, you have the federal government there that has to keep going. Of course, a lot of the members there are the teleworking or just limited field.
From the two states and from the district, yeah.
Right. It's good to know it's not that bad. All right, May, thank you very much. Be safe. Hey, I'm looking forward to another virtual online birthday party or party like you did last time, huh?
In December. Thank you, Alfred.
All right, thank you. Let's travel now to the southeastern U.S. in Atlanta. The capital of the most populous area of the state in Georgia has the highest concentration of COVID-19 cases. Joining us tonight is Philip Toledo to give us the details. Aloha, Philip.
Aloha, Alfred, and aloha to everyone. As of this evening, the Georgia Department of Public Health is reporting 9,156 confirmed COVID-19 cases here in this state. And along with that, there's 348 deaths. Now, here in Atlanta, as you can see, the highest concentration of cases in the state is right here in this area, which isn't really that unexpected because this is the most populous area of the state. In fact, Most of the local communities, counties, and cities were already under some sort of stay-at-home order prior to last week's announcement by the Governor Kemp of a statewide shelter-in-place. That means Atlantans have had a few days to adjust to this new normal and learn how to remain supportive of one another. In fact, social media in the Atlanta area is full of encouragement. Like this past Saturday was April 4th, which numerically is 404, which is also one of the primary area codes here in the city. And so residents have the opportunity then to express their immense pride and support of one another in the city. Interestingly, one of the things that residents often are lamenting or complaining about is the traffic here in Atlanta. But right now, eerily, the roads are empty because people aren't going out. They're not driving. Instead of driving, they're going outside, they're taking walks, enjoying this beautiful weather. And they're doing it so much so that just today, the city announced guidelines on when to use the Beltline, which is a very popular trail that runs right through Midtown to downtown Atlanta. So they've designated the early morning hours for the elderly and the immunocompromised to be able to get out and exercise. And then in the afternoon, they're calling on residents that if they have somewhere else to exercise, they should do so in order to keep the social distancing in place right there in the heart of the city. Now, in communities all over, including my own neighborhood, people are doing what they can to bring some fun to the self-quarantine that is going on. For example, in my own neighborhood, neighbors will put up different pictures up in the windows of their house, so when the kids are taking a walk, it's kind of like a scavenger hunt for them because they're trying to make things, a little bit more exciting, even though everybody has to stay home. And I think that's really the upside in all of this is every evening you see families come out, they're playing together, the whole family. They're in their own respective yards, but they're still spending time with each other. So even as businesses are closed and the world starts to slow down, families are able to spend this quality time with one another. In Atlanta, Georgia, Philip Toledo, Eagle News, we live in interesting times.
Mahalo much, Philip. I'm glad you're joining us, especially around this time of year in the state of Georgia. If memory serves, it should be spring season. Coupled with that is allergy season. I wonder if there's some concerns about some similarities of symptoms between allergies and COVID-19. What's your take on that?
Yes, absolutely. And you're absolutely correct. At this time of year, not only do Atlantans like to complain about traffic, but they also complain about everything turning yellow because of the pollen. And so with allergies, a lot of people are sneezing, they're coughing, and a cough is a very common symptom of COVID-19. The other thing that's a worry, medical professionals and the government are stating that, obviously the virus spreads through the microdroplets and moisture coming out as people are talking or they sneeze or cough. And when they have allergies and they're sneezing and coughing more often, then obviously that's more of a chance for it to spread. So it's all the more reason why these statewide and citywide shelter-in-places have been put in place.
That's good to know, and looking forward to more reports there in the southeastern U.S. Thanks, Philip, and be safe, please.
Thank you.
On to the Lone Star State. Governor Greg Abbott states that Texas has received 2.5 million masks within the last 2 days and will receive an additional 3 million by April 11th. Joining us from Houston, also known as H-Town, is Jessica Isidro with the details. Hello, Jessica.
Hello, Alfred. So here in Texas, the number of positive cases in the state have reached 8,262 with a total of 154 fatalities. Here in the Houston area, Harris County, which is the largest county in the state, has reported 1,809 cases. Just today, Constable Mark Herman from Harris County Precinct 4 stated that another deputy has tested positive for coronavirus and is asking the community to please pray for him and his family. In a press conference on Monday, Governor Greg Abbott stated that millions of protective equipment were distributed to first responders, with millions more on the way, which includes 1.7 million masks, 30,000 face shields, 2.7 million gloves, 170,000 gowns, and 7,500 coveralls. In the last 24 hours, Texas received 2.5 million masks, and that 3 million more will arrive by April 11th. In Texas City, the governor said that 27 patients at the Medical Resort Nursing Home will receive the drug hydroxychloroquine. And he also announced that a checkpoint for drivers crossing the border from Louisiana, anybody crossing that border will be subject to a 14-day quarantine. Texas state parks will also be temporarily closed to the public starting today. And on a personal note, myself and my family are all essential workers. My mom being a nurse, my dad works for the local government, my sister works at our local grocery store, and myself, I'm a behavior therapist. So as the CDC is recommending face coverings in public, I decided to dig out my sewing skills to make my own version of a face cloth covering based on the CDC guidelines. In Houston, Texas, I'm Jessica Isidro, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
Mahalo for that report, Jessica. Okay, now you got me really curious about those masks that you said you're sewing. How about showing us a sample or two of those?
I got them right here. This is my mom's and my dad's.
Let's take a look at one of them. What are they made of, and how is it? How easy can one be made?
So I found the pattern online. This is just a shower curtain I don't use anymore, and then the lining is some old shirts that my dad no longer uses. So I found the pattern online. It's easy to follow. I took an apparel class back in high school and had to dig all those sewing skills back out, but it's not that hard. It's pretty easy.
That's great, and we salute you on behalf of Eagle News to all of you who are in the front lines, even as a family. So, and we also, remind each other to please take care of yourselves and stay inside whenever you can at every opportunity. Thank you for that report, Jessica. Just stay safe. Moving on now to the Pacific Northwest in Washington State. Governor Jay Inslee extends school closures until the rest of the academic year. Michael Hudson in Seattle with the update and is joining us live. Michael, aloha.
Aloha, Alfred. How you doing tonight?
Great.
Good. So, yeah, you're right. Governor Inslee, he made an announcement of extending the stay-at-home order through May 5th. So originally it was supposed to end, today's Tuesday. It was supposed to end today, actually. So people, the essential business or non-essential business were supposed to go back to work. But because of the numbers, they had not improved as much as he wanted. He extended it to May 5th. So the numbers right now we're just shy of 8,400 as far as positive cases go, and then we have 372 deaths. But according to some of the University of Washington professors, we are flattening the curve, I guess you can say, that the numbers are decreasing quite a bit, which is a great sign, meaning that the stay-at-home order is working, and we just have to continue to stick to those strict guidelines as we get through this. Another thing that Governor Inslee issued is that basically the school year is over. So from kindergarten up through college, the school year is done. I guess you can say for a lot of the students, their dreams are realized that they get summer early. There's some schools and school districts that are utilizing the distant learning program. They're still putting some final touches on that before issuing that to most of the students. But for the most part, everybody is on summer vacation starting today. I did speak to a softball coach, high school softball coach today. He was telling me that a lot of his players were crushed because, during this time of year, it's spring sports. So it's track, it's softball, it's golf. A lot of those sports are going on right now. And unfortunately, all of those things are canceled. And so, you can only imagine if you're a high school senior and this is your time to shine, you're graduating, you're walking the stage, you're putting on the gown and the cap and everything, and you won't be able to experience that this year. So a lot of people are crushed by that, but at the same time, they do understand as to why it's happening. But it's back to the softball coach. He said something that was really, really stuck in my mind today, and is that the importance of, this time in this life, we're going to remember it forever. And so he asked me a rhetorical question. I mean, how do you want to be remembered? Do you want to be remembered as someone who's going to give in to the negativity and give in to the bad news that's going on, or are you going to do something about it? Are you going to make the most of it? And so he's definitely making the most of it. He's trying to find time to meet with his players, whether it be dropping off gifts, helping them out, going grocery shopping, what have you. So at the end of the day, we're all just trying to make the most of what's happening right now and just trying to stay positive. So reporting from Seattle, Washington, Michael Hudson, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
Mahalo, Michael. I'm glad you touched on the school year and the school cycle. There's a bit of a buzz, at least here in Hawaii, about tapping into the summer months, assuming conditions improve for us to go out and about again, as far as possibly using that amount of time that's normally allocated for summer to have some makeup for these schools there or anywhere in the U.S. Any kind of buzz that you're picking up about that being considered?
Great question. So I'm assuming you're talking about K through 12. As
right,
far as right. So pertaining to K through 12, there are some programs that they're trying to put together where basically it's going to be virtual. So they would be responsible in completing some coursework online and then submitting it that way. I know that every school district's not capable of doing that, but that's kind of what I've been hearing in the woodwork so far.
Yeah, it looks like, the public school systems are going to be really tested as far as their flexibility to make sure the kids get educated, regardless whether it's online or traditional classroom, should things clear up. That'll be an interesting dynamic this coming summer, regardless, depending on the conditions, of course. Thank you for that update, and do stay safe there in Seattle, Mike.
Appreciate it. You too.
On to the great state of California. Unemployment claims in that state have topped 1 million because of the COVID-19 crisis. Our correspondent, Mayeli Villanueva in San Fernando, is joining us in Southern California. Hey, Mayeli.
Thank you, Alfred. Here in San Fernando Valley, California, it is raining very hard at the moment. Now for our update. As of today, LA Public Health has confirmed 6,910 new corona cases and 169 deaths in LA County, including reported cases in Long Beach and Pasadena. 12 of these cases were the valleys in San Fernando Valley. Over 1 million people have been left without a job in California after many non-essential retail stores, schools, and restaurants closed its doors in an effort to try to lower and control the spread of COVID-19. With so many people left unemployed, California Senator Dianne Feinstein released a statement that it is important to take care of everyone out of work during this time. Some of the steps that were taken in doing this was allowing part-time, self-employed, and gig economy workers to become eligible and access unemployment insurance. The government has also given additional aid with a $2 trillion stimulus package that would help with additional income during this pandemic. Individuals who make a gross income of $75,000 will receive one-time paycheck of $1,200. Married couples who make a gross income of $150,000 will receive a paycheck of $2,400 plus an additional $500 per child if they have any children. Lastly, essential businesses such as CVS are opening up temporary as well as permanent positions for those who are seeking work at this time. According to Workforce LA, Other essential businesses such as Costco, Amazon, Walmart, and Target are also opening up job opportunities for those still looking for extra income. In San Fernando Valley, California, Mayeli Villanueva, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
Thanks very much, Miley. I noticed your background there is kind of dark. Is there already nighttime there in the West Coast?
Yes, it is nighttime at the moment.
Okay, that's weird. Okay. It looks like it's still jacket weather there in Southern California. Is it still cold?
Oh yes, it's very cold at the moment. It's actually raining, so we have to be bundled up.
Is rain actually typical around this time of year?
It is still in April, so it's gonna rain for the next few days.
Okay. Well, please be safe, and we look forward to more reports there in Southern California. And oh, by the way, say hello to Eva for me. She's behind the camera. Thank you, guys.
I will.
Okay, let's go to Nevada. As the citizens there emerge as hashtag Vegas Stronger during this COVID-19 crisis. We have our fellow Eagle News anchor, Lani Valdecantos, joining us in their studio and to give us the details on this hashtag. Lani, aloha.
Aloha, Alfred, coming to you from Hawaii's 9th island here in Nevada. So here's the report. According to lab data, here are today's most recent numbers. We have a total of 2,087 confirmed cases with 54 deaths. While our state, together with most of the world, is on edge due to this pandemic, Nevadans continue our stay-at-home order and remain hopeful from a message from our mayor. Let's listen in.
I'm Mayor Carolyn Goodman of Las Vegas, and this time is an incredibly important time for all of us to extend our thanks and appreciation to each one of you. We can't thank you enough for being out there in front and taking this on every day yourselves. We've worked with you over the past years and know each one of you is a dedicated, caring human being and proud to be a Las Vegan. So we thank you. Stay well, be careful, and know we're with you all the way. In such gratitude.
All right, the frontliners mentioned by our mayors are truly those are heroes together with all of us who will flatten the curve and overcome this crisis. In honor of them, the whole city of Las Vegas unites together in wearing blue with hashtags Vegas Goes Blue spread through the city officials' social media feed to recognize and show our support for our frontliners. In addition, hotels and businesses around town will display blue lights and emerge Nevada Stronger. On a smaller scale, a local mother was urged to make homemade masks and was motivated by the news she heard of an out-of-state relative who is a frontliner using one mask a day due to the shortage of PPEs. So she purchased 100% cotton fabrics with prints that promote positive vibes. So she's been donating them to friends and family and other frontliners to help flatten the curve and stop the spread of this virus. From the inspiration from our city officials and local residents, we hope this encourages each of you to do your share in overcoming this pandemic. In Las Vegas, Lani Valdecantos, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
Mahalo nui loa. Thank you very much, Lani. That was a very good update there in Hawaii's 9th island. I noticed your scarf, though. Is that that's kind of bluish? Is that part of that solidarity of Vegas Stronger?
Yes, we are all wearing blue to show our support for our frontliners. It was actually posted on our city officials' Twitter and the social media accounts to encourage all residents to wear blue for those that are still going to work and also those that are staying home.
Those hotels, those high rises along the strip. I mean, they're really showing it all. it's kind of sort of tempting to go out there. Are there any travel restrictions as far as going out and about around this time?
So far, our governor has mandated the stay-at-home mandate, but you are still free, to go around town, just as long as you're doing essential items and observing social distancing. So you see I was actually very tempted to drive across the strip and just kind of see the blue lights. Because you don't see much of it's a very rare occasion to see our city streets so empty.
Yeah, as I remember, the last time I was there, yes, it's like a parking lot almost, especially at night. So, thank you, Alani, and to the crew there in Vegas. Please be safe, and salutations to our frontliners. Take care.
Yes, thank you, Alfred.
When we come back, let's get to know a mom from Jacksonville, Florida, who even before the pandemic already chose to homeschool her kids. We will get to know her in a moment. This is EBC's international coverage of the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic. We will return in a moment. Stay with us. This is Eagle News.
COVID-19 is an infectious disease caused by a new coronavirus introduced to humans for the first time. It is spread from person to person, mainly through the droplets.
Welcome back to our live broadcast coming to you from Hawaii as we continue the coverage of the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic here in North America. COVID-19 has forced educators and parents to rethink educational practices and habits now that are learning in some level of homeschooling situation. While it is a shock for many, there are some who have been successfully homeschooling their children for a while. With Eagle News today, and joining us from Jacksonville, Florida, is Stephanie Cañete. Aloha, Stephanie. How are you?
Aloha, Alfred. I am great and so happy to chat with you today.
So let's start just basics. I mean, how long have you been homeschooling your kids, and what made you chose this method?
Yeah, I have an 11-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 1-year-old. And we've been homeschooling since my eldest started kindergarten. So this is our 6th year. Before that, I did go into it a little confidently more than other moms and dads because I was a public school educator for 11 years. But to be honest, I didn't even know homeschooling, I didn't even know it existed. We were enrolling him in kindergarten, and it just wasn't the right fit. The question was, is this the best option we can give our son? And it was the neighborhood school, and we loved our neighborhood. To spare the details, my husband and I were like, you know what, this isn't going to work out. And so we prayed and we searched, and I turned on Food Network, and one of my favorites was saying how she homeschooled, and I was homeschooling. So I went to the internet, looked it up, and I was like, hey, we could do that. And so we tried it, and we keep it open every year. We're like, we'll see if he wants to do it this year. Let's see if he wants to do it that year. And we're loving it now. It grows on you. But word to all my moms and dads out there, we're all doing what's best for our children in whatever the circumstance may be. So that's what my message would be here. But yes, if you do contact me personally, I will do my very best to persuade you to try homeschooling. I've lost a lot of friends. No, I gain a lot of good friends and family that way. Yeah.
Now, you are one mom, of course, and with 3 kids. As they grow older, like my own kids, they're going to start competing for attention. How do you balance, that kind of challenge?
That is the exact dilemma I've been dealing with this week, the sibling rivalry, because we want more attention and because the older one is ready for his needs and the younger one is ready for her needs. You've got the gender needs and the age needs and only 4 corners in one room. But it's just a matter of realizing that as their mom, as their dad, you are the expert on your child. You know their heritage. You've bought every item that has entertained them. You saw them choose the box over the toy. You know what they're reading because you're signing that reading log every night, and you're checking out the books at the library or buying you are the one supplying them their experiences. And so that would be my first tip to all the parents suddenly spending a lot more time with our little ones, is to just interview them. Give them that attention and jot down what they are currently interested in. And from there, you're going to find it's so easy to occupy all this newfound time with them and equip them, because you're going to take it from where they are interested. They don't get that at school. At school, it's here's the curriculum, here's what we're going to do, right? And you know what? We're at home. We got to stay home. We're going to stay safe at home together. We're going to go out and get some fresh air if we can. But for the most part, it's you and me. And so let's do this together. Let's make it happen and get to know who you are. And I want you to know who I am. They love stories. They want to know who you were as a young man, or what you were little. They just love learning that about us. And this is an opportunity to share that. Yeah.
Now, of course, you've been homeschooling before this crisis began, and then this happened. Surely there might have been some kind of adjustments or that you had to go through.
Yes.
Learn something new during this period of staying at home and having limited travel to be able to get resources for homeschooling. Share with us that experience of that transition, or stuff that you had to learn, as this situation began.
There is a huge transition. We did put my son through preschool. So I remember when I said, all right, mommy's going to be your teacher now, he would still call me Miss Ginger, his preschool teacher's name, for at least 2 months. And I learned not to take that personally, meaning she was just so good. She imprinted on him in such a wonderful way. And so a lot of what you might want to do is what's known as unschool or deschool. And that is simply a day-by-day thing with the idea that in a couple of weeks, we're going to know exactly what vehicle we're driving here. And the reason for that is we have all just gotten derailed. Okay, we were all on the road, right? We had our GPS set. We were like, we're going to take this exit. And, we all had these plans. And all of a sudden we're like, nope, right here. So, and that impacted the children as well. So we have to show them how to handle when your plan A is not working out. Okay, so with that is just a little bit of unschooling. And that doesn't involve throwing a party, no school. You never want to shift the attitude towards learning. We're going to learn, and we're going to learn together. But you kind of want to help them, help them grieve. We're all grieving, losing some privileges and rights that we're very accustomed to. Well, they lost that too. So what are they missing? And help them, grieve. Oh, we do miss classmates, and we do miss the teacher, and we definitely miss whatever part of the school day that they. And the neat thing is, you're jotting down what really mattered to them, or what was interesting and valuable to them. After a couple moments of that, start exploring the home and what you have that could supply the same need that they had. And again, discovering what is important to them, what's interesting to them, giving them, instead of copying school at home, right? You are trying to give them consistency. So all parents know that rhythm and that pattern of the day is so important. So again, when they wake, what can they expect? And then after these maybe you have a morning family meeting or a morning session, or everyone's at the table now for breakfast. What is the day going to look like, and what can they count on? And those consistencies are going to really excite them and comfort them more so that you can throw in the day some things that will excite them and things that everyone can look forward to. Out of the 6 years that I've been homeschooling, 3 of them I was work-at-home homeschooling. And I know a lot of parents, my friends especially, they're like, whoa, I have work to do, end of day, and I've got little people that are, looking to me to entertain them. And so let's all just take a deep breath and get really realistic there. As to what is doable, what can you provide, where can you all meet? I do know my favorite technique was top of the hour. So at the top of the hour, I would just check in with each of my kids. I would play a math game, and then the next hour I would read them a story, a picture book, or a chapter out of a chapter book, and it always took way less than 10 minutes. Although I slotted 10 minutes of my hour. So that would typically at the office be your water cooler, picking up the phone to check message, personal time. And so that was my time with the kids. And they don't need much more than that. All of a sudden, I'm good, Mom. Yeah, okay. And they're going to run off and entertain themselves or set themselves up for success because you filled up their little tank. And so you're just constantly doing that during the day. Yeah.
So, before we let you go, what kind of tips would you like to offer parents, especially now? They're faced with this situation and they're spending more time with kids, but have no idea of how homeschooling works. And any kind of resources that are out there that you can recommend to our audiences, especially parents.
The internet is vast. With the resources, because this is not a new phenomenon. There are families worldwide that are doing this and that have documented their journeys. So just be cautious, because it's almost like going on Pinterest or going on YouTube. It's just so vast. You're going to end up just scrolling and going, oh my gosh, where do I begin? And so my number one tip would be Stephen Covey's tip number 2 for highly successful people: begin with the end in mind. And I know it was touched on earlier. Simply, this is going to end. This gift of time without an end in sight, but there is an end in sight. We're all just waiting on that. We'd like to know, but for now, it's a gift, an unexpected staycation. if you will. And so begin with the end in mind. What do you want your child to say when they recall this part of 2020, whether they call it COVID-19 or when they hear the word coronavirus, we've all got something, like it'll be a nice little trigger word in the future. But when it comes to, when my mom was my teacher or when my dad helped me, this is how my family handled it. So to come up with a simple tradition daily would be awesome. Whether you start the day off with a little huddle, or if you end the day in a huddle where you reflect on your failures or some triumphs, a little dance party, something just to your family culture. It's going to thrive if it hasn't already, because you've sat down and you've enriched one another with what matters. And that's the focus on, because when you send your kids back to school, the teacher's just so happy to have them back. And they're going to pick up, it's just like summer break. Right? You've heard of the summer slide, right? They finished year 10, but they go back to start year 11, but they still have to review parts of year 10 because summer was so long. So that's what I'm hinting at here. Whenever they're able to get back, they're going to all kind of restart a little bit to touch on things. So as long as they're reading every day, reviewing math facts here and there, and learning who they are and what their family stands for, they're going to be in really great position to move forward when it's time to do so.
I'm losing battery. Thanks, Stephanie. We wish you the best and good luck, and please stay safe there in Florida. Good luck to you.
Thank you so much. Same to you there in Hawaii.
Thank you. Mahalo. Now, keeping kids interested, disciplined in staying at home is not new to any of us, especially parents. It is more challenging during quarantine period and limited travel. Now, easy to make craft projects can help pass the time while keeping our spirits up and learning a fun process. Marianne Borja of our LA Bureau shows us an easy way to spice up the home with this quick and easy DIY project. Marianne.
Hey guys, it's Marianne Borja, and I'm going to teach you guys how to turn any plain old coaster into a cute one like these. So today, the materials you're going to need are a coaster, some paintbrushes, a stencil of your choosing, a blow dryer, this is optional, some paint, I use red and blue, and a cup of water to dip your paintbrushes in. So first what we're going to do is get a palette. I just used a plain old cardboard piece, and pour our paint. Here you can see that I'm pouring the red paint that I'm going to use for the heart and some light blue paint for the background. So now I'm just getting ready with the coaster. Make sure I use something under the surface so that none of the paint gets on my table. So first what I'm going to do is get my blue paint for the background and use it to make a first coat. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to use my blow dryer to dry it faster, but you can just air dry it. Once you're done drying, which will only take a few minutes, you're gonna get more blue paint and coat it with a second coat. It's important to do multiple coats and multiple dries so that the paint is not see-through or transparent. Make sure you cover up all spots. And now we're going to dry it one more time. Now we're going to grab our stencil and put it on top of the dry coaster. Make sure it's dry so that the paper doesn't stick to the coaster. What I'm going to do now is start putting the first red coat for our stencil in the middle. I'm doing a heart, but you can do any other shape that you like. Here I'm making sure that the paper is sticking down, but not sticking to the paint, since it's already dry. Once you're done with the first coat, you're going to use your dryer to dry it. It's important to do multiple coats. Now we're going to try taking off the stencil, and yeah, so I messed up, but it's okay if you mess up like this. I'm going to teach you guys how to fix it. It is important to use really thick paper, but if you use like regular letter paper like me or printer paper, you can just fix it by putting more paint on the background. You can use smaller brushes or even your fingers to fix those little errors. There's a little bit of paint and some paper stuck there, but it's okay, we'll fix it. I'm using my big brush to make sure I get the outline right on the outside, and fixing the heart on the inside. Sometimes we get the error of having little cracks in our paint when we dry it, but we don't want that. So what we're gonna do is put some more paint over it so that it's smooth and clean. There you go, it looks good as new. Now that everything is finished and we've got those little cracks out, I'd say our coaster looks pretty good. So here's the finished product. I have a little cute heart in the middle of a blue background. There you have it, the finished product. My name is Marianne Borja from North Hills. We live in interesting times.
Mahalo much, and thank you, Marianne and LA Bureau, for that tip. When we come back, we will have a one-on-one conversation with the EBC Sports producer himself, Aljamin Santos, about how the sports world has taken a big hit from the coronavirus COVID-19 crisis. We'll be back in a moment. This is Eagle News. Stay with us.
Ein sonniger Tag heute hier in Berlin vor dem Bundestag. Ich bin Irene Juliet Arzadon und möchte diese Gelegenheit nutzen, um ein paar Worte mit euch zu teilen. An alle Menschen da draußen. In dieser Zeit lasst uns nicht vergessen, den Menschen zu danken, die ihr Leben für uns opfern. Sei es die Menschen, die im Krankenhaus arbeiten, in den Altenheimen sowie in den Arztpraxen, aber auch an die Menschen, die im Lebensmittelhandel sich befinden. Die Kassierer. Manchmal reicht es aus, um ihnen ein freundliches Lächeln zu geben. Denn die Menschen, die heute am Arbeiten sind, weil sie nicht so wie einige von uns zu Hause bleiben können, die sollten wir wertschätzen. Ihnen sollten wir unseren Dank ausrichten. Darum lasst uns noch mehr zusammenhalten. Sie wertschätzen.
Landmarks, Linggo, alas 6 hanggang alas 7 ng gabi.
Accurate and fair reporting. Not only from Batanes to Tawi-Tawi, but also abroad. Detailed and timely stories relevant to people all over the world. Catch all of these at Net25, your reliable source of news, entertainment, and technology updates.
We welcome our audiences back to our live broadcast coming to you from Hawaii. Professional sports are not the only ones affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. Even more localized sports, ranging from collegiate to high school to community levels, took a big hit as gyms, rec centers had to close and the public had to be restricted to their homes. Let's take a look at this feature.
Since professional sports and gatherings have been suspended, the fans of those sports found it difficult to believe. The thought of not being able to watch their favorite players play was already a sight we never expected. And for a brief moment, local sports clubs and leagues had the attention. But that attention didn't last very long as the mandate from the government and other state officials impacted all sports.
My first initial reaction to professional sports being either canceled or postponed was, wow, like, is this really happening right now? You know, sports was the one thing that I didn't think was going to be really affected from everything that happened. But when professional sports started to get canceled, you kind of knew, oh man, this is really real.
Our first initial reaction was definitely shock. I don't think we've ever gone through a time like this where sports in general has shut down and just disbelief. And so I think my initial thought was kind of like, okay, this is gonna just pass over. But unfortunately, yeah, it didn't end up that way.
Well, players and teams, they didn't know how to take it at first when the whole COVID-19 outbreak came out, because, you know, a lot of people, we didn't know what the information was and what sources it was coming from. But we had players on both sides of the fence, meaning, hey, let's just play through it because we can, you know, it might not be as serious as we thought. And there were the other ones who were just kind of like, hey, I don't want to do anything to jeopardize my health.
I believe it was a negative impact. Most people want to play. They're concerned about normalcy in their lives, and I think that when they're playing volleyball, they're having a good time, and it makes people feel better about themselves.
So there's been a big impact. I have a group chat with the majority of the leaders, captains from our league, and a lot of it was kind of a consensus of we want to play.
But each day, you know, with the virus changing and all these numbers that were coming out, it pretty much went everyone being, hey, you know what, guys, we're just going to go ahead and stay inside and, you know, we'll go from there.
Most players would like to keep playing, but I feel like maybe their parents are on the more cautious side and they want to stop playing until this passes over.
Ooh, emotions and thoughts. Definitely initial is just sadness because of the fact that it was a time for us to come together and build that camaraderie. It was motivation for us to get through the week. It was, for some of us, our only exercise, our only activity that we were able to do. And again, combining it with the sport that we love, that we're very passionate about, where we could be competitive, we could be ourselves, be women that play sports and be comfortable in our own skin.
So as soon as the NBA players started to catch it and all other kinds of sports athletes started to catch it, we decided to go ahead and just shut down all of our operations to go ahead and kind of stop and contain whatever we can, if the virus even made it out to any of our players in our leagues.
I think people were scared. Emotions were running high. But my first priority would be the safety of the people that come into my gym.
But at the same time, I think that with every seed of adversity, there is a chance for greatness.
It has been tough. Since no income comes in, we have been shutting everything down and not doing very much stuff, spending a lot of time with family, doing things as a family together, and hopefully becoming a closer, tighter family.
The league has never been a money generator. This was something that I've been very passionate about as far as providing a platform for women to play basketball, because I myself was that girl that moved to a new town where she didn't know anyone, and I just wanted to look for other like-minded individuals that were just like me that just wanted to play.
It really hasn't. I mean, with the way our league is set up, all the proceeds that we usually get from the league, if there are any, we always give it back to the league, trying to make the league better for the next season, things that we can either purchase or buy, donations, anything like that. It all goes back to the league, because that's what the vision that Amin and I had as owners and operators.
I am giving a lot of my time back to my family. I have two boys, 14 and 11, and my big boy that is my husband, that definitely, as I was doing a lot of, multiple things within jobs, other businesses, and within the league, this is my opportunity to really reinvest back into that. This will definitely allow us, I think, to be stronger, more unified moving forward whenever things do come back, because I know for a fact this is not going to last forever. So that whenever we do get to reconvene for the league, that the girls and the women will, I think, be more grateful, which I think we can all use a little bit more of.
If we could say that it is only a matter of time before we can see and play sports again, we would. But the fact of the matter is that it depends on each one of us to play the most important and largest role. Be a team player, prevent the spread, stay at home, spend time with loved ones, and continue to stay positive. From Las Vegas, Aljamain Santos, Eagle News, we live in interesting times.
Joining us right now live from Las Vegas is our very own EBC Sports International producer and fellow anchor, Aljamain Santos, who is also a co-founder of a local volleyball sports league in Vegas. And he will share with us how the sports world is suffering from the pandemic. You know what I mean? I think it's kind of awkward. You're supposed to be the one anchoring. I'm supposed to be the one reporting,
You're doing a great job, Alfred. You're doing great.
No, man. Yeah, I know but sports news. I mean, we always look forward to, especially around this time with baseball and basketball supposedly going into closer to the playoffs. But they're not around. So and of course you yourself is in charge of a sports league, the B League. What is B League anyway?
Well, the B League originated as a league of a lot of guys who just wanted to get together and play basketball. And be it that we play in different leagues around the city, we found it beneficial for all of us to just compete together. So once everything was established, we set the league up, and we first started out as a draft league where captains were selecting, kind of like fantasy sports, where one captain would select one and the next one would select, and so on and so forth. But we found a huge success, and our league grew exponentially. And it got to the point where we had a legitimate platform, and we saw it as an opportunity to reach out to the rest of the community, as far as small businesses who we believe provide a positive impact on our community, whether it's their services, their products, or they're just a family business that they want to get lifted off the ground. And we saw it as an opportunity to use our platform to help provide that for them. So they would come to our league and they would set up a booth, and you've heard in our previous package that we don't take anything from them. We allow them to have that platform to make a name for themselves and introduce themselves to the players that come play, and from there it just kind of took off. We went from basketball to now volleyball, so it's been great for us.
Of course, being in charge of this group, and then this crisis comes up, surely you've had to go through some kind of thought process to make a painful decision. Talk us through that thought process and how it felt to be the bearer of bad news to your league.
It didn't really hit us until the governor had proposed the news for non-essential businesses to close down, and believe it, we're sports lovers, so we tried to find ways around it, and the news came days after our final game for the season. So we had players already making sure that they washed their hands before they entered the gym, practiced social distancing, and asked for family members to stay at home. And if they felt sick, we asked the captains make sure that their players did not show up. So the way we handled the news was we looked at different options. We looked to parks potentially, because we also have referees that they depend on that income as their form of living. So we knew there were more than the players that depended on this league. So
And then when the news came to really postpone and cancel the next season, it was tough for a lot of the players and us, because we enjoy putting on this event year-round for them. And, you know, it was a tough decision to make, but we had to do it because, you know, there's a greater purpose to closing the doors, and that's to take care of the community and being in the healthcare field. You know, I didn't want to be that person to you know, turn my back on what's most important, and that's the health of all the players and everybody that's involved.
That's good to know. What are your sports leagues doing now? I mean, you know, from your members are offering their members, you know, in lieu of, you know, the usual sports activities. Well, what are they doing now?
I know some of the players, we still keep in contact with them, and they're always asking, when are we going to start? When are we going to start? You know, so they're very anxious. They really want to play, but, you know, what we've been trying to do is we talk to each other about different sports happenings and things that's going on in their professional sports to kind of keep their minds off not being able to play right now. We've reached out to other leagues as well on what they're doing. Some of them are, you know, they're doing social media challenges and things like that to keep their players involved and busy, providing different workouts that they could do at home, different drills. I'm working with one of the women's leagues here in the city, and her son is he's a talented basketball player, and he plays in our league with his parents' permission because he's a minor. And he's providing some great drills for our players to really look into to keep sharp on their skills. And yeah, that's pretty much what we can do for them right now.
So you also produce our sports program here and have covered, you know, big league games in basketball, professional hockey, and your partners there do. And now, you know, all the seasons are canceled or postponed. What challenges does it pose for you when, you know, now when it comes to putting on a sports show like WDC Sports International?
You know, Alfred, it is definitely some interesting times because you have to get really creative. You have to really think outside of the box and utilize the technology that we have now to really reach out. And if you noticed from the package that just aired, we did that remotely. I reached out to the other leagues here in town to see if they can provide a video interview. So I kind of helped them through the process, you know, taught them all the camera work, taught them how to really utilize their family members to help them out. So I feel like, you know, they involve their family with it. But we're really turning to the community and the local news to really get that in-depth look on the impact of what the COVID-19 virus has done for the general public as well. As far as professional sports, you know, we've always tried our best to make ourselves as a presence to them, as well as trying to get as much information as we can to continue to produce the show, because, you know, we have our viewers and our staff members that work tirelessly to communicate with the rest of the bureaus across the country, all over the world. So look for sports stories that will help people have a positive outlook, continue to turn to us to provide them that kind of inspiration to power through this, and just to know that we're all in this together, and you know, and try to broadcast that positivity as much as we can.
And we do want to thank your fellow sportscasters like Michael Hudson and Ken Cruz, who's already provided some how-to videos as far as workouts. I sense a little competition between them too. I don't know if you're going to jump into that. Is that something we're going to look forward to?
Do something like that. That's a great idea. I'll talk to them. I'll see if I can convince them to do something like that.
Are you saying it's on?
I'll say it for them. I will say it's on. I'll say it's on. Look forward to that. Look forward to that.
Aljamain Santos, our producer for EBC Sports International. Sir, thank you very much. And knowing that you're also in the front lines, I salute you, and please keep safe, you and your loved ones there.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Alfred.
Before we go, a few reminders. that we always provide at the end of every program. I think we got the slide up for you. We cannot emphasize enough about washing our hands often with soap and water, covering our mouths when sneezing or coughing. Avoid touching your face, especially the eyes, nose, and mouth. Avoid contact with those who might be sick. And if you yourself are sick, stay home, stay away, keep that social distancing. You know what? I just learned that, for us in the US, it's 6 feet. In Canada, it's 2 meters. So, yeah, I learned something new there. Practice social distancing, like I said, and maintain distance as much as possible. And remember, COVID-19 is the enemy, not ourselves. And finally, before we go, we always do an applause and thank you for our frontliners, whether it be there in New York City or somewhere in downtown Honolulu or anywhere else in between in the world. We thank those who risk their lives so that the rest of us can be safe. But I also wanted to send out a personal mahalo, a thank you to those who are keeping us connected even as we speak. Those who I personally used to, bother and give a hard time and say, hey, where's my connectivity? Hey, where's my link? Hey, how come it's not on YouTube? We want to ask you to thank your information technology folks, those who keep us connected in our meetings, in our chat groups, whether it be at home, at work, or wherever we may be socializing online. We thank you for those keeping us connected in these challenging periods. And we ask you to do your part. Let's do our part in keeping ourselves safe. This has been WDC's international coverage of the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic, coming to you from North America and coming to you live from Hawaii. I'm Alfred Asenas. We live in interesting times. Aloha.